Where does that go? And you know what? I thought it's really good to do something extra special on episode 150. I'm going to bring you a little bit of sugar early and have our favourite.
I'm here.
And there he is, Ethan from Outlaw HQ. How are you? Big weekend.
Well. I'm wearing NYX, so I'm feeling great about myself.
I know. Who is that? I love that.
This is Nora Gaunt.
It is Nora, yeah.
Yeah, this is Bluma, and I pulled a Jared and styled it with about 4 extra inches of ease, as he's wont to do when it comes to photographing models. So if you go look at the Bluma pattern, folks at home who are all of our loyal viewers, which actually is a serious thing, but I can't help but mock myself. If you go and look at the Bluma pattern, you're going to see 2 beautiful models, one with short cropped blonde hair and one with long, curly, beautiful blonde and brown hair. If you look at how it fits on the blonde model with the short cropped hair, it's quite oversized and the sleeves hang down to the base of the thumb joint. And it's got this very like relaxed East Coast elegance to it. And I just couldn't help myself. I knit it with the same amount of ease. And it's just so wonderful. Like, it's definitely, I'm pulling a bit of a, like, if Robert Redford and Barbra Streisand made a beach film, sort of a look, like gray sea coast in the background, big rocks, crashing waves, you know.
Just need a Cape Cod chair and a cocktail now, darling.
Yeah, well, that's honestly, dress for the life you want, right? And so I'm ready, even down, brace yourselves. I made new trousers just to go with this sweater as well. So we're all set here.
Stop it. Yeah, well, so if for those who have just joined us and weren't with me on Thursday, what we're talking about and alluding to is, of course, the launch of NYX.
NYX, it's back!
2 years.
I know.
2
long, hard, dark years of NYXless life.
I know, and it's and NYX is, and this is the parchment that Ethan is wearing, and this is stunning yarn. It is a blend of Polworth, so the same Polworth that they use in Bohemia, with 30% mulberry silk. And the hard part is, of course, we know this yarn in person. We're sitting here with cameras trying to show you. What you don't get to see is the shine and the sheen of this yarn. It is a single release only. So this, think Bohemia Gothic, think, you know, you've got to be in to win. So it was launched on Saturday. Oh, stop it.
Luckily, I have my collection of props provided by Kathy to help. So if you're looking at stitch definition and shine, there you go.
So is that is that a Persephone or is that bone?
Bone. This is bone, and this is Wildflowers from the 52 Weeks of Shawls book.
Beautiful.
And it's a beauty. Yes, you do have to be in it to win it. NYX is back for a limited time till we both sell out of it. I think if you're hunting around on our websites, there are some colors that both of us are completely out of. So. And we're both running down on everything.
Yeah. So for me, it's and actually my outs are the same as yours. So I don't have Erebus and Tourmaline, which are the 2 blues, and neither do you.
No.
So literally,
I'm also out of Shadowed, but I think you still have Shadowed.
I still have Shadowed.
Monster. Oh my God. So Shadowed is Deb's favorite color, everyone. Of all of the colors I think that we make. I think Shadowed on NYX is her all-time favorite.
Yeah.
And there's a reason. It's because it's completely different to any other dark gray you're ever going to come across.
Oh, it's like a dark gray that isn't a dark gray that is a dark gray that isn't a dark gray. And it's what you put it with to what it tones to. See, she first did this color on Vanitas. And
I forgot.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And it was it was one of my favorites in Vanitas. And it's a great color, and on the silk, and you can actually see, there we go with it. See, there's a slight sort of grain with it on the silk.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why it is so good,
it just ripples through.
Absolutely.
I have a natural light advantage, everyone, and a very expensive camera that I'm using. So hopefully this is coming through nice and crisp and clear.
Yeah, it is. Yours is looking so much better than mine. Because I'm using a cheap camera and artificial lighting. So I actually haven't even... Actually, I could probably turn... Hold on. I've got a light sitting here, and if I spin it around, I probably could actually get better light. Look at that. No, Shadowed is amazing. And it's good that we've still got Shadowed because... Hold on. Oh, good. Ugh! There we go. turn that down a little bit much light. Bit much
Got a little
light,
intense there for a minute,
okay,
everyone.
for a little bit too much light on an old bird. The reason why it's so good that we've got shadowed, that's not really helping, let's turn that off, is because it means that we've got contrast. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It means that we've got contrast.
Oh, we're doing the same thing. Okay.
I know, 20s. Yeah, we've got contrast.
Oh, it happened. Shadowed happened the other way around. It was first on Nyx and then on Vanitas. Deb has come in.
Oh, there we go. Well, I remember it on Vanitas too. See?
Oh,
yay.
So if you want to be like Marie and I and be a winner, this is the color combination apparently we're both thinking of this morning.
Now, look, Tecumseh.
Yes.
Wouldn't this be an amazing Tecumseh?
This would be so good together. I've also been kind of playing with the idea of using bone as the background color. So I call this my minimal contrast palette for Tecumseh, okay? So there's almost no contrast here, but it'll be beautiful and subtle if you took fog and Persephone and bone all together to do color work. Now, it's going to be subtle, but subtle color work can be so beautiful. So there's I mean, I am the high priest of pastels at all times. So like, you know.
See, this is the other little combo I quite like.
Oh, yeah. Persephone, Irene, and Fog. Always good.
It's so good, right? It is so good. It's got a little bit more punch to it, but it's kind of got, that whole sort of Miami thing going on. Yeah.
Which, like, I'm never opposed to gelato and sorbet shades on yarns.
No.
Huge fan.
Yeah. So we do actually have a sample and I'm glad you're here, Kaz, because I can't remember what this was. I have a feeling this was a Melanie Berg. Deb, do you remember or not?
I mean, it looks like it could be Melanie Berg.
Yeah, I can't remember. This is a talisman.
It's hard with our lovely Melanie because she has such a distinct style.
Yeah.
But it also means sometimes it's hard to tell which pattern was which.
Yeah. Can you remember what this was called? I've lost the tag. No, I can't remember what it was called either. It's gorgeous though. Well, Kathy, do you know what this is called? Because you know things. Kathy's in there. I'll hold it up to Kathy. She might know.
We'll see if we can get the entire IT team on this, everyone.
Yeah. It could be. I've got Heather looking over my shoulder as well. And it's fantastic for shawls. So I talked about a lot on Thursday about projects. So of course we had to talk Nora, and so Geiger. So Geiger was the one I'm going to pull. I'm actually going to.
Oh, I left my Geiger at home. I'm such a silly goose. That's what I forgot. Oh
Geiger. I mean, to me, so I'm actually going to find. I think I did pull it up. Where am I? Gosh, I haven't. I'm so disorganized this morning.
I guess I should confess, I was one of the first people to knit Geiger once it came out.
Oh, shocking.
Yeah, I literally couldn't stop myself. The pattern came out and I was chomping at the bit. So I do have a Geiger that I own. I knit mine in Fleet, which is a dark navy from Brooklyn Tweed in their Arbor range. I actually think, based on having now knit Bluma from Noragon in Nyx, I think it might do better in Nyx.
Yeah, and the part of the reason I liked it, so here we go, I've got this here now, I'll stick it up on the screen for us. Obviously the colour made sense, but I liked it because of the stitch definition and the fact that they used a no, we don't want that. There we go. The fact that she uses a slightly firmer tension and a smaller needle, and with that, particularly with that use of travelling stitches and reverse stocking stitch, which she's got for that detailing, with the reflective quality of Nyx,
it will be perfect.
Amazing. Amazing. Now, I won't lie, it's not for the faint-hearted, okay? So if you've only knit a couple of cardigans, I wouldn't recommend you jump into Geiger. But if you are wanting a project that you can sink your teeth into, you're pretty, solidly confident in your basic skills, and you're not afraid to try something new and just push your boundaries a little bit, I think because of the quality, the pattern writing, and the finished product that you'll get, I think it's worth it.
So this is what I'm going to tell everybody about Geiger. The back piece is the most difficult piece to get through. The fronts are also quite tricky, but the back, start with the back and see if you can get through it. Now, that beautiful shaping is created by increasing and decreasing equally at 2 different points in the pattern. While you're doing that, you're working from 3 charts, and you're also doing multiple sets of German short rows to remove the excess fabric that you
so that you can definitely see there's some short rows here through the waist. That waist shaping here, and also these little Chinese knotted bunches here.
So those are Nora's medallion cables. And they function by actually, you create stitches to make the cables by flipping the reverse stockinette to stockinette while you're creating a knot. So you make a little knot, and then out of the knot, you grab each tendril of the knot and you pull it up to make the next one, and then you knot them again in a cable, and then you pull them back up to knot them again. And so it has this very organic feel, which if you've knit Nora's cables before, even the ones that look quite shaped and sculpted, they have a very organic nature to them. So once you get the rhythm of her work, it's very easy to follow along. It does start from the same cast on as my Bluma, which has an unusual cast on. The biggest note for everybody watching from home, Marie and I are both people who endlessly modify patterns. I'm going to warn you now, you can't do that with Geiger. So it's impossible to modify, but it is the most enjoyable seaming experience you will ever have. That dense texture makes it so easy to seam, and all of the seams line up with an exact row count, and you work a selvage that has a garter stitch spine bracketed by 2 stitches of stockinette, and you seam so that the spine pieces of garter stitch line up. So you can actually see if you've done it right. And what's really quite cool and quite difficult deep in there is as you stack everything together, when you're seaming, all of the short rows from the back pieces and the 2 fronts, they actually line up. So when you seam, they actually form these perfect little like V's that fly out from the seams and are completely invisible. It's honestly one of my favorite things I've ever made. I wear it like a formal jacket, actually, because it's based off a Tyrolean jacket. A final side note to everyone at home, there is a picot cast-off involved. And if you've done a picot cast-off before, this is not like a picot cast-off that you've already done. And my final note, when you go to shop for buttons, and you only need 3 buttons in every size, and trust me, you only need 3, make sure that you buy shirt buttons, something small and flat. I'm not really sure what's been going on out in the knitting world. I've kind of checked out of recent Ravelry for a while.
Have they been doing shanked buttons, have they?
Either shanked or very, very large buttons. And it distorts your ribbing when your button, like if you're doing a yarn over buttonhole, like yarn over buttonholes are great, but a yarn over is only so big. So like I keep seeing yarn over buttonholes with like a 20mm button shoved through them. That is not good for your button band friends at home. Don't do that to your button band. It wants to have a long, loving relationship with you. And for that, it needs appropriately sized buttons for buttonholes. We could say something inappropriate to illustrate this point here, but I'm really holding back. I'm trying.
Use your imagination, people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so I mean, to me that just screamed talisman, and
Yeah,
it was amazing. So see, and again, that Brooklyn Tweed winter collection is like the collection that just
it's
keeps on giving, is
it's
it
the best.
not? I know it is the best.
From that as well, Nolan and Kirigami are both in Arbor. So Nolan is that white one there, and that's by Julie Hoover. If you're looking for a perfect, relaxed, beautiful fit, so it has this all over cable texture, but like a lot of Julie's patterns, the pattern kind of drifts into the background
Yeah,
once
and
you
in
finish knitting
fog,
it.
I mean,
Yeah, fog.
stop it.
Absolutely. It has a beautiful drop shoulder, and so it'll be flattering on a lot of people. And if you notice, that neckline is neither high nor low. It's that Julie Hoover thing where she builds necklines that are actually shaped to your collarbones. Just as a side note, if you're looking at some of Julie's larger neckline patterns and you're thinking to yourself, that scoop shape looks like it has a slightly different shape to a more other dropped necklines, it's because she's not built the ratio off of neck size. She's built the ratio off of collarbone widths. So it rests better.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other one that we looked at as we jumped out, Kirigami.
Yes, there's a hat and a pullover. You can go wild. And this is from Gudrun Johnston. So this is a unique take on a cabled yoked pullover. So instead of being a colorwork yoke, it's cables. I've had several people that I've helped in the past make this pattern, and it looks beautiful on every single person.
Yeah. And one of the things I like about this is that, and this is where I think when you've got a yarn like Nyx, which is so classical and so beautiful, it's about creating shapes that will actually allow it to shine and sheen. So you've got that movement in the yoke, which you'll have the reflective play, but then you've actually got a swathe of stocking stitch there, which this yarn is so beautiful. And I actually talked about our shoji, which I'm doing.
Oh, yeah.
See, shoji in this would be amazing as well. And it's about, I think, just finding that right fit. And this is, again, with the contrast. We talked about Tecumseh before. The Nanilchik. I thought saw someone mention the Nanilchik Swancho in the chat. And also to some of our little friend Jennifer Steingast, just with the two colours. I know, the face.
Okay, well, I mean, you can take them on that adventure, but beware the necklines.
I know, but we're the necklines, and we definitely do need to do the... yes. So
I think I'd be more inclined, just for those, extras for experts who are watching from home, I would be more inclined to go down the Marie Wallen route if I was knitting with Nyx.
Okay.
The reason being that Nyx is such an incredibly luxurious and beautiful thing that I think I would want it to go into a pattern that really embraces the complexity and beauty of yarn. So she has a gorgeous intarsia cardigan called Amaryllis that is just like, it looks like something that you could wear to like tea with the queen. I think it's from her collection Spring. It's not from Meadow, I don't think. I'm pretty good with Marie Wallen usually. I speak fluent Marie Wallen.
Because he's like Nora, 26 pages.
Yeah, well, she look, just click on any of them. You can't go wrong. This is the good news.
Here we go.
There's nobody who's kind of like mastered the art of knit flat repetitive color work the way that Marie Wallen has. I think we can all agree to that. She's the best. When you're coming down to making colorwork pattern suggestions for Nyx, I guess I would be inclined to steer towards my favorites, and to stick with people who build really good basic shapes and expand on it from there.
Oh, hold on. I know the one you're talking about now. This is Amaryllis.
That one.
Yeah.
Like, there's no color combination that would not look absolutely beautiful in, from what you have left in Nyx and from what we have left in Nyx.
Yeah.
It's the most crisp and classic look out there. It's got that nice high little round neck that's not going to be too up in your business. It has a beautiful fashion button bands and knit front. That color work is not stranded. It's intarsia, everybody, so it's not nearly as complex to do.
And also, too, that's another
just,
really sweet one for that really subtle sort of
yeah.
like if you're wanting to do that subtle color work.
Yeah, like Delft pottery, it would be
Yeah.
so beautiful.
Yeah.
I've also been kind of wildly considering the bouquet for color work for myself, doing the bouquet sweater from our good, she doesn't know we're friends, but our good friend Junko Unkomoto. Junko has kind of this unique eye for color work and shapes. Now, I'm going to have to get Marie to go on a bit of a journey for all of us. So we're going to go into the projects because her photos, she used a really low contrast yarn and not in a good way necessarily.
Yeah. That's
So,
kind of, yeah.
Yeah, if you go into the projects, lots of people have done beautiful high contrast versions that really stand out and are just an absolute stunner.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That.
I'm here to help everyone.
Oh, stop it.
So it's one of those patterns where, you know, if you picked up fog as the background color and then used bone or parchment or shadowed or talisman, you can see where I'm going with this, everyone. Or Irene. Like there's no bad way to put together these high or low contrast options for something where the color work is so big and graphic like this.
Yeah, there you go. There's a better example.
There we go. So those are the beautiful motifs. It's a combination of stranding on the outside of your work and stranded color work on the inside. Now, again, extras for experts recommendation here. If you go ahead to do this pattern, I would recommend looking up the technique called ladder back jacquard, which is a method of carrying floats on the wrong side where you actually are working in the floats. So you're knitting stitches that aren't attached to anything. But what it does is it creates like a structure inside that supports your float. So that if you've got more than 5 stitches crossing, you build these ladder stitches instead to hold everything firm instead of like trying to trap your floats constantly, which can make a real mess on the right side of the fabric.
So it's kind of a little bit like guys are sort of like double knitting, but not double knitting because you're actually sort of knitting out in the float and it's actually attached. It's not attached to the front part of your work. It's actually sitting out there and then you go back in and it just creates this nice
I think Isolde Teague has a really good tutorial on her blog for it, if anyone's looking. Historically, Isolde's information is really technically sound, which is kind of the basis of her whole career, right? Is technically sound advice for Scottish lesbians.
Did you just say that out loud? Right.
I can't help myself. I love Isolde to bits, everyone, by the way. She makes
So let's talk some accessories because, I mean, these are all quite large format project. I grabbed with some of the accessories that I wanted to. Actually, I'm going to throw these up.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So I was quite keen. I talked about on Ziel the Day, Alana Dacos because I'm very fond of Alana and she does great accessories.
I don't think I'm familiar with her work at all.
Yeah, so I've done a lot of Alana Dacos, and a lot of her stuff is sort of in double knitting. She does a lot of self-publishing, and as you can see here, in terms of the hats and the mitts, I talked about pressed leaves here the other day. I've got that, the ivy trellis hat, but there's so many here that. So here's another. This, I mean, she uses the tempire here, but you could. When it comes to accessories, you could use the knits for these. And, you know, sometimes it's just really nice to have something, you know, quite special. This is actually another one. This is Thicket. I've knitted this. This hat here is such a wonderful quick knit. It's just very, very simple. And it just, and that in knits as a single ball project, I think will be amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to put a big plug in for accessories. There is a crazy suggestion. It's a free pattern that I have for all of you. It is a small, large pattern, if that makes sense. So we're talking in and around the 5 ball zone. So 4 balls of a main color, 2 balls of a contrast color. Pine bow Cowl by Diana Walla. Here's a throwback. And Marie's going to laugh when she sees the yarn because she's going to recognize the yarn. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
As I lean forward to look for it as well. I'm pretty sure it's called the Pine Bow Cowl. I've made one.
Oh, so Marie Waller, was it?
No, Diana Walla.
Waller. Waller, isn't it?
Walla.
Oh.
Let's find out if I can find it.
Here we go. Here we go. There's Diana.
There it is. Bottom, yeah, that one. Told you you'd laugh.
Stop it.
Yeah. Throwback. So this is one of my favorite patterns of all time. If you're looking to build up your colorwork muscles and you're looking for some quality colorwork that will be absolutely beautiful, I have made this pattern. It was actually the first knit along I ever participated in.
Oh.
So it's a tube. You're just making an endless tube. You graft it in the round. The charts are really well made. There's nothing complicated here. It looks far more complicated when it's finished than it is to knit. And it's just beautiful. It's warm and rich and luxurious, and it looks so damn expensive when you finish making it. It looks like you've spent a fortune on it, no matter what you make it out of. But in knits, it will be spectacular.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, that reminds me a little bit, and just looking at what you're working on at the moment, our little friend Olga.
Oh yeah, so I'm being a sneaky monster. I'm just finishing up a pattern that comes out on April the 3rd, everybody. If you're looking for an extra for experts pattern, ooh, I'm working on it right now.
Because it was, I've got Olga up now, because she does some really fun little colorwork. Actually, she's got great accessories that will work with knits.
So we've been doing a big push on Olga, actually, during our next promo. So the UI shawl, for sure, is so cool. I believe it's what Deb is going to be making next. We love the way that it comes out. I think I've also put Boko Boko, which is one of her negative space patterns. It's a big shawl as well.
Yeah.
And I am an endless fan of the Roku hat, which is the second one in on the top row there.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, I'm seeing this on a tiny screen. I just recognize the photo, everybody watching from home. So I have made 6 Roku hats. Full disclosure, the pattern is written for worsted, but it comes up great in DK.
Yeah.
It's an absolute stunner of a pattern when it's finished. It takes 1 skein maximum. I know it's just a 1x1 rib beanie, but it is the best 1x1 rib beanie you will ever make.
I know the one that I'm looking for, but I've got a funny feeling because she did it for Brooklyn Tweed, I think. And it's similar. It's the cowl version of pretty much what you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's called Jujika.
Jujika. There we go.
Jujika.
Oh, there you go. See, I knew you'd know.
I really one day they need to do Jeopardy, but just for knitting crap, just for me.
There it is. There it is.
Jujika.
There it is. Now look, again, this is one that I think would look amazing. I mean, look at so this is why I thought of this, because that's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah,
because I've got this in I've got this book in hard copy, you see, so that's why.
So do I.
Yeah, and I just think that would be beautiful. There is so much here, guys. That look, we could go on.
What's really exciting too, if you like matching sets, because I'm now in her testing pool. She's actually releasing, there's fingerless gloves, whatever you want to call them, that match the Jujika cowl called Sumac. And they're coming out in a couple of weeks with a new gauge and a new refreshed pattern. So that's really exciting as well. As is, I think, her Skylights pullover from Lina. Oh, what else? Well, this is coming soon. This is the plus shawl. It's a good time. Yeah, there's so many great accessory options out there. I do have a bundle on Ravelry, everybody. If you're looking for pattern suggestions, I've got a bundle up on Ravelry on my profile. I'm EBE Forever, just for the side note, for everybody who's not familiar with me. If you go find me on Ravelry, go into my favorites, you will see a NYX bundle there. I've been keeping it going for a while now. And yeah.
And if you're wanting something that is a little, and you're wanting to do some color and you want to mix things up a little bit, I grabbed these. Now,
Ooh,
guys, okay, so these, Ethan has pulse in this format. He has 100 grams of pulse. So this is rhythm. But see, look at rhythm with Persephone and parchment.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Guthrie?
I know the way I held that up. I was like, oh, that's a bit phallic. Let's do this.
Well, I didn't want to talk about it.
Let's try this, shall we? But that combination, I mean, look at that combination.
Are we starting an OnlyFans called Only Yarns? No.
Only Yarns. Oh, gosh. There we go. But look at that as a combination.
Yeah, I love it.
Stop it.
Look, the thing is, at the end of the day, you really just can't go wrong with a lot of these designers that we're recommending. Their whole pattern collections you can jump into are so good. Obviously, I've got my 5 or 6 favorites whose stuff I knit all the time. I live in a very restrained little bubble. If you're looking to push outside of where you're usually at, some people to consider: Emily Green. Her stuff is amazing. You're never going to be disappointed. I'm just going to warn everybody, she loves a dense gauge. So like, don't be thinking you're going into this knitting on a 5mm needle. It's not happening. But she has tons of accessories, tons of different sized things. And her grading on garments is perfect. If you're somebody who has a larger body or struggles to make modifications, Emily has got you covered. For everybody watching from home who's like, what are you thinking of making next, Ethan? I have a quintessential cardigan on the needles from Church Mouse Yarn and Tees. It's a pattern that you will wear time and time again. It's slightly cropped. It is shown in one version in mohair and one version in a non-mohair yarn. I obviously recommend the non-mohair version, but that's because mohair gets in my mouth. I have a lifelong trauma from mohair that I'll never get over. It's fine, everyone, don't worry. It won't affect you. Then if you're looking around to Alexis Winslow, probably somebody who you haven't come across. If you're newish, not even newish to knitting, she's just a bit of an oddball, not in a bad way, but she does really cool stuff with minimalist intarsia, and vertical stranding and all sorts of neat, cool techniques that you might not have gotten a chance to try out before.
And of course, Libby has got 3 patterns out in NYX. So we've got
and
Pearl,
one of them right here.
Himara, and there it is, Flindra.
Hopefully knit by, you guessed it, everyone, the wonderful Kathy yet again. Thank God you're here, Kathy. We don't know what we would do without you. So this is in Proserpine, which is not back this year, and Tourmaline. So you could get a similar effect with shadowed.
Shadowed and parchment
would be really shadowed and parchment. Shadowed and talisman. Or if you're a creamy neutrals person, bone and parchment, which I think would be so glamorous. So yeah, I would 100% recommend go for designers that you don't necessarily knit with all the time. I'm obviously always going to recommend seamed patterns. Fun fact, not a big fan of seamless. If this is the first time you're hearing this might be the first time you've ever seen me. Yeah, apart from that, like, go out, have some fun, experiment wildly.
Absolutely. And so, as I mentioned before, we have got limited stocks. In fact, I'll just check them because I just again. So just to run through what we've got. So we don't have Erebus and Tourmaline, but we do have everything else. But a couple of those are down to literally the last couple of bags, and I think you're very much the same.
We are very much the same.
Yeah.
So we have no Tourmaline, no Erebus, and no Shadowed here. Talisman looks like it's going to be the next one. So if you're heading out to grab some Talisman or some Irene, make sure to get into both Skeinz and Us soon because they will not be around for long. I wouldn't recommend sleeping on anything. Bone always does this thing where it sits and sits and sits, and then it will be gone in 30 seconds. So if you've been sitting around thinking, well, Bone won't sell out that fast, you're right. It won't until it does.
Yeah.
And then there will be no Bone.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'll be like that with all of it, actually. So do make sure you do that. I will get a newsletter out with some more of these ideas that we've talked about today to actually help enable you on your journey. But thank you very much, as always. And I will talk to everybody again on Thursday. Hopefully your week is as good as ours. A quick update on Epic Sale orders. We printed all our tickets through to the 18th, and it looks like we will have those out tonight or tomorrow. And then we've now just printed the new tickets out to the 24th. And just great. And thank you for your patience. I mean, it's just with the Epic Sale, A, so busy, and B, I'm literally rolling with 2 staff down the whole time with the Rona. But that's all right. That's all right.
We're getting there.
We're getting there. It's just how we roll these days, but it's all good. It is all good.
Yeah.
And thank you to the wonderful Kathy for who's been popping the links in for Facebook for us. Greatly appreciated.
The best.
All right. I will talk to everybody again soon. Thank you very much, Ethan. And everyone have a great week. See ya.
Bye.